What is up, guys? Wraith here, Graybearded Gaming Society, and I've decided that with the 20th anniversary of EverQuest happening this year, checking out all the new servers, checking all the good times, and realizing that in the entire time that I have played EverQuest, that I have never played a necromancer in true necromancer fashion. And by that I mean my necromancers have either always been on live and had a mercenary to power through levels, or they've always had a pre-made group, something along those lines. I have never gone the old school evil route of fear kiting, surviving by my own toolbox, root rotting, charm killing, etc. So with everything going on right now, I decided now would be the best time than ever to roll a new character. We're going to go with the necromancer. We're going to play as old school as possible. We're going to hit as many of the old school classic zones, some of the classic areas, Befallen, potentially Unrest, maybe some guard killing here and there. Definitely visit some of the bards, see how this stuff goes. We're going to roll up a character on the Agnar server. We're going to go with Agnar because at this point it's a pop-locked server, which will help with transportation a little bit. While I want the classic feel and some of the murdering and things like that, what I don't want is for it to take 35-40 minutes for me to get anywhere. I mean, I want to have a good time, want to try some of these places out. I don't want to spend the whole time filming with me walking in a straight line. Nobody wants to see that either. So we're going to go there. The other reason for the Agnar server, of course, is, it was a pop-locked server. The population will be a bit lower, which means we'll be able to hit some of the spots we want to be able to hit without quite as much competition. Obviously, thought about running on the Mangler server for a few minutes, but with as new as it is and as popular as it is, getting to some of these old school places and really kind of seeing how it goes will be a lot of time waiting in line. And unfortunately, this is more of a hobby for me. I'm by no means a professional YouTuber, as obvious by my video editing that you'll see if you're watching this video. It's a hobby. I can't camp these spots all day. I want to be able to kind of get in and kind of get out, experience things, but still have a good time, right? Want that old school feel without necessarily getting punished for playing the old school feel. So we're going to roll a new character, Agnar server. Going to go with Necro. So I'm not really looking to make a guide here. Looking to have a good adventure. Hoping you guys will come along for the ride if you're interested. So when we're looking at a Necro, you got a few races you can be. A human, not bad, don't really want to be blind. The Erudite, it's kind of the same thing, not a great starting area. Worried about the low light vision. Don't really want to be bald. Ixar, you could definitely make a serious case for Ixar being the best of min-maxing of any of the Necros. However, this playthrough, I want to make a Dark Elf. We're going to run through Neriak. I have not been to Neriak proper in probably a good 14 years. It's been a very long time. So we're going to roll us a Dark Elf, roll a Necromancer, take a quick peek at some of the options here. Let's match our channel, make sure that we have at least some form of beard going on. That one's not bad, kind of right out of the gate. Don't even have to go digging all that far. This one should work pretty good for us. So we'll just take that one. We'll go with the name that'll also match the channel, and he will be the Gray-Bearded Necro. Here we go! So like I said, I've been playing EverQuest off and on for a very long time. I was playing EverQuest before Kunark even came out. Wouldn't say that I played it the day of launch, but with as popular as it got, as fast as it did, back in the day, definitely jumped on the bandwagon there pretty quick. And it was a great game then, it's a great game now. It is one of those games that regardless of how many other games I've ever played in the genre, I always end up coming back to EQ, checking out some of the content, even if it's just soloing, just to kind of see what's going on. But like I said, in all that time, never done the old school Necro, so let's get it done here. Like I said, plan to kind of try a little bit of all the classic tactics. Obviously some of them have to wait till we get some levels on us. Punch out some of the first levels, get to where we can really fear kite some stuff, maybe work on some charming at some point, some root rotting down the road as it suits us, kind of see how things go. Another one of the reasons that we did kind of pick the Agnar server over, say, something more like a P99 or something like that, is that you get a couple of bonuses when you first start off. And as you can see, this is a new character. He does not have gear, he does not have twink. You watch me make him, he's pretty much broke. I don't have some huge established presence on the server, so he's not going to be a power leveled character. He's not going to start off with any kind of currency. We're going to have to get that rolling ourselves too. So tell you what, let's go ahead and head out towards the newbie zone. See if we can't start getting some kills, start generating a little bit of currency so we can try to get some of those first spells rolling. Another benefit to being on a server like this is anybody who's played EverQuest before, been around for a while, knows that on the very classic servers, of course, corpse runs were a thing. They were serious business. If you died, wherever you died, you appeared back at your spawn point naked, alone, with nothing but your wits to figure out how you were going to get back to your body and recover all of your gear. In these newer servers, even on the TLPs now, you know, you are going to die. You're going to leave a corpse behind. And if you want to regain an experience, you obviously need to get a res. But when you come back to your bind point, you're going to have all of your gear with you. So you can corpse run if you need to regain the experience, but you don't have to worry about that perpetual death of potentially losing gear and things like that that could happen in the old school world. For those who have been around long enough, and there was even a famous video made at the time, or famous song I should say, literally all about the famed corpse runs in EverQuest. So they're going to be able to skip that, knowing that information as well, and knowing that I have not been in this city in at least a decade, probably longer. We're gonna take a shortcut here. So rather than watch me fumble and bumble around through Neriak for a minute, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to be bound right outside the city. So we are going to take a free shot at this guy, who is promptly going to break a foot off in us and give us a free port to our bind spot. There we go. Free ticket on the pain train. It should kick us right out front of the city. If we, yep, Necro's Forest. There we go. So we can just get to some action. And because of our size, I don't even think you lose experience for the first couple levels if you die. And, well, I'm level 1. So there's nowhere to go down really from there. So we're in pretty good shape. So we got our first little buff up here. Gotta get this stuff rolling. And obviously, one of the tactics that I've always done when I jump on a new server, when I'm playing on a new server, is I'll serve well in the TLPs and get to newbie zones, is, you know, what kind of humanoids do you have? And of course, in our case, we'll be kind of looking for skeletons, especially since we will need those valuable bone chips down the road to summon our imaginary friends. I don't see any right out of the gate, so we'll go with something about our size. Obviously, when you're small, with pretty much any character right out of the gate, there's going to be a lot of stabbing with the newbie weapon. You know, a couple classes get that first early nuke. In the Necro's case, of course, you start off with your basic shield, your minor shielding, and your life tap. So more than anything else, you'll be kind of life tap tanking those first couple levels. You know, really not that bad. Play away at your dagger, get a little bit of defense going on, and then you life tap, finish the job, get your hit points back up. And there we go. There's a skeleton for us. We can hopefully get a couple bone chips. The other advantage, like I said, to these guys early on, is if they have weapons, they tend to drop the weapons, which some of the newbies' own weapons, of course, you can get a couple gold. If you get lucky enough to find those cracked stabs, of course, you can get almost a plat for those, you know, based on your faction and or charisma. At the same time, again, for us, those bone chips are going to be crucial. And there we go. We actually get a piece of armor out of the gate, which will be somewhat useful for us. Because, again, you know, don't have anybody to give us a bunch of stuff. We're going to be starting it the slow, painful way here. We'll keep an eye out for the skeletons and kind of pick off what we can, just to try to get, like I said, get some currency rolling. You know, kind of see if we can get a little bit together so we can, you know, get kind of those first level spells to really get us rolling. Because I don't remember the Necro pets being exceptionally tanky. At this size, of course, you know, anything is going to be a bonus. The first couple of levels is more like just a visible dot, really. But any little bit, that'll help us. At the same time, I believe there's a couple of the kind of early nukes that should help us out and give us a little bit of efficiency here as far as killing. Hopefully we get some of these guys to drop us a couple of pieces here so we can make that little bit of money we got rolling. Like I said, I like to do the skeletons at the same time because, quite frankly, they're relatively frail. It doesn't take a lot to kill them. They don't have any special effects like some of the spiders, some of the snakes might actually poison you. Which, ooh, what is that? That looks like a big guy. Yeah, we will stay very clear of that guy because while I'm not necessarily worried about trying to play a deathless run here, I also do not really feel like taking a free port to bind every time we get near somebody that cons red. So let's stay on this side over here and stay with this little skeleton guy. It's a little more our speed. So like I was saying, You know, like I said, I have not played even in one of these starter areas here for a very long time, because of course in the new servers, anybody who plays, you know, EQ Live knows that these days, of course, you have the tutorial zones. You run through your tutorial, you know, you knock out 8 to 10 levels depending on how much time you spend there. You also tend to get quite a few of your spells out of the gate, but pretty much full set of armor that is way stronger than anything we'll be seeing in this game, probably for almost 20 levels or so, I would think. You know, at the same time, you get some currency built up, some bags, everything you need to handle the world. And of course, when you jump out now, I believe it was somewhere around Serpent Spine, perhaps, or maybe sooner. Serpent Spine may have been the mercenaries, but that, of course, is one of the other big benefits, is you get the mercenary pet, which almost power levels you for those first levels. They're just so strong. And here we go, we got some double skeleton action. See if we can't get us some bone chips, and again, hoping for some armor drops here and there. I know these guys can drop claw, like so we've already seen our little helmet upgrade, and while it's not going to be anything massive, I mean, at this size, every little bit's going to help us. And there we go. Ask and you shall receive. A couple of sleeves there. You know, anything that helps us from taking quite the beating at the low levels, instead of until we get that pet kind of rolling and get things moving our way. And that's a guy we definitely want to get a hold of, because he looks like he might have our moneymaker. This might be our first round of spells right here. Nope, that might be a Warren Staff. He's got the two-handed graphic going on there. Like I said, it's really hard to tell this till they start swinging, but either way, it should still be a gold or two. You might be able to take that and get a couple of our first level spells. Anything again to help kind of speed us up. The first couple levels, you know, generally we'll be looking at life tap tanking, kind of what we're doing here. Yeah, that's a Warren Great Staff. It should still hopefully be a gold or two for us. And as we advance, as our skill box rounds out a little bit, if I remember correctly, hopefully around level 12, I think we should have pretty much everything we need to start doing some pretty decent fear kiting. And yes, you can kind of do it before then, but if I'm not mistaken, we're not going to get a good... Oh, that Fizzler is going to cost us a little bit. We're not going to get a reliable snare, I don't believe, until I think levels 10 or 11 potentially. And up until that point, it's very inefficient, I would say, to try to fear kite if your snare's breaking constantly, or if it's not that big of a snare, as opposed to once we get that, I believe it's engulfing darkness, somewhere around that will be our first kind of reliable snare. We get the fear pretty early, but you got to have both pieces to be really successful with it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, also like the second round pet, I believe is around level 4. You get a couple levels in there at the lower size where the pet's actually going to pop out and kind of be bigger than we are. So we'll be able to use him to somewhat kind of tank for us for a little bit. They're never known to be super beefy, but with all the other skills in the toolbox, we should be able to get by just fine. So let's see what we got here. I think between the items that we've grabbed, might have enough to jump in here and get some of our spells. One of the other benefits of jumping on to a server like this is, since they start us with one bag, we got a little bit more space to do a little bit more farming before we have to run back to town. The other thing they give us is pretty much a complimentary bag. I will pick off this last skeleton before we go. He's right there. Maybe we'll make a couple of friends. But there will be another bag that they give us that'll be in the bank. So we'll be able to open up with 2 bags, be able to farm a little longer before we have to go in and sell. At the same time, again, we'll be trying to target the things that kind of generate some early currency for us. You know, won't focus on really kind of questy trade skilly items at this level. And of course oh, there we go, another piece of armor, we'll take that. And as I was about to say, on a character that doesn't have a lot of currency, of course, you know, trade skilling can be pretty expensive. It's very hard to open up on a server trade skilling, so we're probably not going to worry too much about that. Like I said, if we're keep everything moving like I'm hoping we will, then what we'll do really is do some of that that necro evil farming goodness, generate a little bit of currency, and then see what we can farm on our own, or potentially here and there, maybe potentially buy. So what I'm going to do real quick is we run back into town so you guys don't have to watch me being lost. So I'll go ahead and put a pause on this, and we'll jump back after I get some selling done, weasel my way through to the bank, and then pick up some spells, and we will be right back. And we are back. mere moments for you, the viewer, and approximately 7.5 minutes for me. Like I said, it's been a very long time since we've gone through the city. Did manage to fumble my way through it. I tried to use my little map here for some help. Of course, in some little areas, you can see it's kind of hard to tell kind of what's real and what's not. We might end up upgrading the map at some point. I know there used to be some add-ons you could pull for that. But what we did do on the way here is we swung by our bank, and as expected, like I said, we have a second little bag here. So a little bit of things to help get us started, so we have a little more farm capacity before we have to stop. We can hold a little bit more loot before we have to run back. And I sold the few things that we had, managed to get a whopping 6 gold to get us rolling, but that should be more than enough to get us started here. So we will come right out of the gate. We'll grab our first pet, Disease Cloud, which will be a good one. And pretty much we'll grab as many as we kind of can, and I think will be useful early. Grab Reclaim Energy. We'll jump around just a bit. I'm not going to get every little spell. I mean, Siphon Strength, for instance. We're not a strength-based class. We're not really going to benefit from that. You know, if we were playing a Shadow Knight, sure, we'd grab that. But at the same point, even if I was encumbered, I'd have to pick fights all the way home to use it, to make any use out of it, so we'll kind of skip that. But we'll grab some of our second-level spells. We can get Fear, Numb the Dead. Let's see. That one can be useful down the road, but I think we'll pick that one up later. We'll definitely pick up Grim Aura, because unlike Siphon Strength, Grim Aura will be a straight attack bonus for us, so we'll hit just a little bit harder in these early levels. We'll grab Life Spike, Clinging Darkness, our second level pet, which I believe should be substantially stronger for the first, and Poison Bolt, which means we should pretty much be set for our first handful of levels to just really get out there and roll and work on some levels and work on building a little bit more kind of revenue gains here. Let's put our spell book together. Of course, we will mim our first imaginary friend here. And again, he's not going to be a whole lot more than a visual dot. He won't even be able to take a hit as good as we will. If you think about it, it's a level 1 spell. We're level 1. If I'm not mistaken, he's going to pop out at level 1. So as soon as we level, we'll already be bigger than him, and everything in the newbie zone is going to be his size or bigger. So he's going to have a bit of a hard time early on. But still, very useful. We'll do the tanking. He can stack on some damage. So we also picking up Disease Cloud. Disease Cloud's another great one. It doesn't do a ton of damage early on, if I remember correctly, but it lasts forever. Yeah, it's got a very long last time, and at this size, of course, one of the problems is we get one of those epic battles where we're both missing everything nonstop. The last thing that you want to do is have a mob start regenerating some of the hit points back that you're eagerly trying to whip out of him because you both go on a missing streak, which anybody who's played the game long enough knows that absolutely happens. Is you will sometimes just go on a pretty bad tear of kind of missing everything. We'll lose some of our storage kind of early on to some of our little spells that we're carrying. I think we should go through the first couple levels pretty quick, and again at some point, you know, we'll polish up, kind of fill in those other spots. But I think these are the spells that we really need to kind of get us rolling. The other thing we'll be obviously keeping an eye out for is to build up some of that gold so we can kind of expand backpacks so we can farm again even then longer before we have to come back to town and sell. So one of the things we do plan to do this time around is we are just going to murder whatever is most convenient for us. Faction be damned, we're not worrying about being a goody two-shoes, not worrying about being friendly. We will take advantage of POK down the road some. Look, obviously the ports to kind of move around, because again, anybody who played Classic loved Classic. The game is advanced. The things I love about the game are still here. What I didn't love was sitting in one spot for 30-40 minutes trying to get a port. On this server, with the population being what it is now, you know, we're probably not going to have much luck doing that, so we will use the POK books to move around. And one of the other benefits, of course, of having the POK is that once we start moving kind of back and forth between there and kind of using it as our base of operations, is, of course, we can buy most of our spells there, which will be very handy. We won't have to run around as much to do spells. And one of the things that I absolutely did loathe 20 years ago was trying to do research. There was nothing worse than spending all this time trying to get these reagents to create a pet, create the spell, whatever it was, just to fail spectacularly and have to try farming all these random mats again or having to buy them. But so we will use some of the perks of a more modern server, but again, still trying to go for that old school feel, right? We're not going to be power leveling. I'm not going to turn down free buffs if I get them, but I'm not going to have anybody babysit me. Not going to do prefab groups. You know, I'm going to try to solo as much as humanly possible. There might be a few spots, you know, maybe if we get invited to groups, we'll kind of see what happens. what we are going to do here is take ourselves another very free ride to our mine point. Nothing like a free port. And again, I don't recommend doing that later in life, but of course at this early stage of the game, you're really not going to lose any experience. It doesn't matter, it just shoots me right back out front. Like I said, it took me about 7 minutes to get through town the first time, and rather than having you guys wait for me to do that, we'll go the fast route. So we'll get our buff up here. A little bit of minor shielding so we can make a minor nuisance of ourselves. And then let's cast our first imaginary friend who will help us in our adventures. Our first of many, I'm sure. Little Jabobber, who's probably going to be a corpse in very short order. But we used all of our mana to summon our pet and buff, so sit down for just a second. Another benefit, I will say, of the live servers is that you do get this little buff here. And again, this is a pop lock server. You know, it's going to stop at Plains of Power. We're only going so far. We'll see if we even make it that far. You do kind of run out of classic content. I guess it depends on how much you consider classic. Of course, Plains of Power was my absolute heyday a very long time ago, because that was before mortgages, kids, rent, you know, take your pick of the more important bills that popped up. And, you know, wasn't a strong guild a long time ago where, you know, raiding, we're able to flag, we're able to move. But anybody who played way back then just remembers you spent almost your entire time sitting on your butt. It was always be meditating. That was the way of the game. That's the way that you played. Which is fine. Again, I'm not knocking anything away from the super classic server. We're going to try to go through some of the stuff. It's about the experience itself, right? It's not about, you know, I want the classic feel without feeling like I'm being punished for trying to play the classic feel. I'm not knocking P99 at all, or the folks who want to play that way. That's outstanding. You know, we might have a cracked staff here. We'll get a little bit of revenue going on. But what I'm really hoping for, like I said, is just be able to experience things that didn't do the first time around. And there we go, cracked staff. That should, if I'm not mistaken, that should net us pretty close to a plat, which at this size is pretty big money, because that should bankroll several more levels of spells for us going forward here. And as I mentioned, we're still going to be life tap tanking. Like I said, we have the little pet now. Like I said, as I showed earlier, I mean, he is an even con to meet level 1. So he is going to be even to anything in this Nobi zone area. So like if we, let's just send him at this little wolf here one time and see how he does. They start swinging. And I'll give him credit. He is bobbing and weaving for all he is worth here. So right about the time I go to show that he really can't take a hit, he just doesn't even let the wolf hit him. Let's see if we get different results this time around. Send him out there. Apparently his armor class is just way better than mine, because he's hardly getting hit at all. But needless to say, he's not going to have a ton of hit points. He's not going to straight up tank for you. Basically, I'm probably going to wait till probably around level 4 and the second level pet before I get too brave with relying on the pet to be able to either take aggro or hold aggro for me. Right now we're going to use him, like I said, kind of as a visible dot. He's just going to assist me on anything I start stabbing. Hey, look at that. Level 2. Here we go. Now, another thing I did notice, of course, like I said, is I have not popped out in one of these newbie zones in a very, very long time. Of course, the game now gives you, you know, the new tutorial zone. You pop through the tutorial. You'd be almost insane not to take it because of just the amount of stuff that it gives you. You know, this time again, as I've stated, we're kind of aiming for that classic feel. That's why we picked the server. But I am pretty sure that they should probably still have some variant of the classic Nerhiak leveling log around here somewhere. That was just a staple of the zone forever ago. And that looks like that could be it. Looks like we're, oh, there we go. Looks like we're surrounded by guys here. It should be right up our alley to work on. Barely, ooh, we got a real skeleton off the side here. Let's see. Yeah, he's kind of yellow. He's about double our level. But I tell you what, let's see if we can't get the drop on him. We can get ourselves a little bit of a burst of experience. See how we do here. That's the one thing, of course, about at this size is some things might still aggro us. That'll kind of wear off, and those bears will probably not be our friends. Up, turn around and pay attention to me, guy. If we don't get some pretty good shots on him soon, we could be in trouble. The little Jabobber over there is not doing well at all. Like I said, he's not going to tank well. We might have bit off more than we could chew. We'll see if we get another free ride to our buying spot here, whether we can pull this off. We get a couple good shots here and there. At least, thankfully, we were able to land the disease cloud on him pretty quick. He's not going to regen any of those hit points back. But I may be sending us a free ride back. May have gone a little bit too brave out of the gate here. And for those who played EverQuest for a long time, a lot of people know, you know, when you work on the con system, if it's white, of course, it's on your level. If it's, yep, we're going to get a free ride. There we go. Got a little too big for our britches too quick. So at least we get the first NPC murder that's not intentional out of the way pretty quick here. But as I was saying, as I started to say with the con system in the game, of course, if it cons even to you and you hit C on the keyboard, of course this guy's indifferent. He's not aggro, but he's level 2. He should be at like an even fight, right? Any of these little white guys should be even fights to us. And there's one there. He's actually yellow, so he's level 3. Yellow is at least one level and up bigger than you. And this game, unlike a lot of other games out there, is very unforgiving in a lot of level ranges in terms of fighting or trying to swing too far up, especially as a solo player. You know, there are some mobs, once you know the mob mechanics, you know the fight mechanics, you can kind of pull it off. You know, a lot of things, even with minimal twinking, I could say at this level, you know, you'd be able to push through it relatively fast. But again, you know, we are starting with nothing but just the little pieces of cloth we've been able to find on our own so far. So trying to swing up, it's a pretty dangerous thing. And as you just saw, one mob, level 4, gave us a free ride back. So we will probably slide back a notch here and try to see if we can't pick up a little bit more experience before getting too brave with the bigger skeletons. There were quite a few decaying skeletons out there as well, so we'll probably try to work our way back out there and be a little bit more careful of our targets. But I think what we'll probably do here is call that a pretty good spot for our first video. Like I said, I don't think anybody wants to sit here and watch me just stab everything merrily to death for the next couple levels. So I think what we will probably do here is will be a pretty good spot to call it. I'll probably pick this up probably around level 4 or right before level 4, right about the time we're looking to get some new spells, get that new pet going, kind of see how our toolbox is building out, and then we can put that new pet to the test. And until then, hope everybody has a good day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.